Typically, it would have taken us 6 or 8 flights spread out over 3 days. Instead, Jeff captured it in 3 flights in a single day.
For over 5 years, ROCK Robotic has partnered with over 1,000 clients worldwide, completing over 30,000 jobs from quick turnarounds to the most complex projects. We specialize in aerial and drone LiDAR hardware and software backed by our ROCK Pro Services team, processing over 1 million acres of data with expert QC/QA for precise, high-quality results. Based in the US, our industry-leading customer success team works as an extension of your crew, hands-on from the first flight to final deliverable. No matter the scale or challenge, we're by your side, ensuring you capture the exact data you need to succeed.
Welcome back to the ROCK Ultra Demo Tour, where professionals in surveying and geospatial services put the new ROCK Ultra LiDAR to the test. We talk about the experience, the workflow, and most importantly, the data. Today, I'm joined by Keith Seidler and Jeffrey Wannop of British Columbia, Canada. Before we get into his Ultra experience, let's start with a little background. Tell us about your business and what you do.
Thanks, Vincent. You're joining you here from central BC in Canada. We're an open pit mine, one of the largest in Canada. We move on the order of 350,000 tons a day. We use LiDAR data for 2 main things. One is for month-end surveys of our mine pit to determine quantities moved and mined, and the other is for monitoring and modeling of blast movement. So we focus on topographic surfaces and then use that to understand what's going on and what's happened to our ore.
Okay, great. Interesting stuff here. This is the first time we've seen this kind of use case come across in the ROCK Ultra Demo Tour. And we're in Canada, guys. Just as a reminder for everyone, we're going international here. Could you tell us about the project site in specific that you chose for the Ultra Demo and give us a little background on that?
So for the flight we're looking at today, we focused on an area of the pit that has a very large elevation difference, right? When we're flying our R3 Pro with the limitation of range that it has relative to the Ultra, we have to fly many flights to cover the same elevation difference. And we are at risk of flying into the walls of the pit. With the Ultra, our goal was to be able to fly around the rim of the pit and be able to see all the way to the bottom. In the case of this area, that elevation distance is in the order of 600 meters.
600 meters. Got it. So the overall goal here is to be able to safely fly the LiDAR without crashing into the side of the pit. So with the ROCK Ultra LiDAR, that's what you were trying to accomplish on these projects. Yeah. Okay, great. And what is the typical LiDAR that you would fly for these missions?
Typically, we've been flying an R3 Pro, which we love.
Good to hear that.
Yeah. With the R3 Pro, it'll take us multiple flights to cover this portion of the open pit. We need to fly it at lower elevations within the pit. Our goal with the ROCK Ultra was to be able to fly around the rim of the pit, keep us away from the hazards of the walls, while still capturing a high quality of data from top to bottom of that pit, and do it in fewer flights.
Awesome. And I can't wait for everyone to see this data set. It's extremely interesting, and we're really excited about it. But before we do, we'll tease you a little bit more. And Jeffrey, I'll ask you, what was it like flying the ROCK Ultra? Just give me a little bit of your first impressions and your experience being hands-on with it, because my understanding, you are the pilot.
Yes. So because I've used the ROCK Pro quite a few times, it it was much the same. I liked the larger button instead of having to look for the little light in the O. I like seeing the big ring button.
Everyone loves the big button.
It's
That has
it's
been,
great.
and I
Yes.
love that everyone loves the big button.
Yeah, no, it was very easy, just like using the Rock Pro. Uh, it was definitely very little learning time. There's no real learning uh changeover between the two. The controls in the controller are very much the same. Um, that and it was interesting flying from a higher elevation because I've flown in the like our my last survey in the pit using the Rock Pro. I actually had to restart the mission a few times because I was flying and my polygon was not set correctly, and all of a sudden I'm holding back the drone from going straight into a wall. So I just had to like switch it out of like um survey mode to like bring it back and do return to home and adjust my polygons. So it was nice to be able to start at a higher viewpoint elevation and then fly above pit walls, and we have a lot of electrification of our equipment, so there's a lot of telephone poles on our site. So avoiding a lot of the telephone poles was great, and it was really great to see that even flying at a higher elevation that we're getting those point responses. Because if we flew with the Rock Pro from those spots, we would just get the rim, and we wouldn't actually be getting some of our lower points for our topography. And then also we were flying at a higher rate of speed than we would normally fly compared to the Pro, and it just gives us an ability to cover a larger area and gather that data at a deeper at those depths into the pit. So yeah, all it was a good experience. Definitely, I was very encouraged about how efficient it was, and how much larger an area. So
So what we'll do now is a perfect segue, as you mentioned, data. Is we'll bring the data up on screen, and we'll continue to talk about, your experience in your flight. And I have some questions for you that I'm sure everyone would like to get the answer to. Is how high exactly did you fly it, and at what speed did you fly it? And talk to me about what level of confidence it brought to you flying it that high, and what was that experience like in general in comparison to flying it. I know you mentioned all of these different hazards, telephone wires and poles, and the side of the mine, and so just speak to that, flying it high and
yes. So I flew at 120 meters above my starting point from there, which is it's a viewpoint above the pit. And my target was actually to fly two stockpiles and the pit at the same time. So there's a stockpile kind of in the red area, and then on that orange side there's another stockpile which we have to monitor. But then flying over the base of right over the pit area allowed us to get both those stockpiles, which were in like up at the top, and then also right down to the bottom of the pit, just because we can. It's like another thing that Keith didn't mention that we also use this data for is geotechnical monitoring, so we can see if there's change or swelling of pit walls over time, which will be good. And then also when we come to mine out some of these areas to expand some of the pits, we have updated topos of any material that's spilled or anything of that area. So there's a lot of benefits for picking up the pit,
right.
but also getting some of our mundane tasks like picking up stockpiles for volume
Mundane but
analysis for
super
volumes.
important. And
Yeah.
guys, I mean, just take a second here. We brought it up on screen and didn't really say anything. For me, this is, as a marketing guy that's worked in lidar for 4 years now, is just such a super interesting data set to look at for me. Not a lot of minds
Mhm.
come across. I know you guys work at it every day and you're used to it, but like, to me, this is such a cool and unique case study, and a use case, and we love working on it. And we'll go a little deeper into the data, but before we do, I just wanted to kind of dive a little bit deeper on the mission planning aspect and being able to not worry about some of those hazards and terrain following and being able to fly it higher. How did that affect your mission planning process?
So when I planned this mission, mostly I focused on the time that it would take, like how much battery power. So I tried to keep it within about 17 minutes. So when I'm flying lower and slower with the Rock Pro, I would probably get one stockpile or like a little bit larger of area. So covering a smaller area with the Rock Pro compared to being able to fly a larger, like such a larger area, and because it could be flown at a higher rate of speed, we gathered a lot more data.
Yeah. And what
And
was
it's
the
yeah, it
total
was really
size
impressive.
of this mine pit in specific?
Oh gosh.
There we go. We'll pull it up for you. There we go. 414 acres, guys, on this one specifically. But
Wow.
they Keith and Jeffrey did map multiple mines, and this is just one of them. So they did, I believe, four in total. So there was actually even more than this mapped. They had the Ultra for a little bit of an extended period. Jeffrey, will you talk a little bit more about what exact speed did you fly it at and that exact height numbers? We'd like to get a little technical on the
Yeah,
stats.
of course. Yeah. So I took off from the viewpoint and I flew this one at, I think the speed was 11 and the max speed was 12 with the drone, which is a Matrice 350.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, and it brought, like, by giving it that speed, I got the survey time down. I don't remember exactly. I think it was seven. It was just under 17 minutes to fly this whole
Wow.
area.
17 minutes for
So
the whole area.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Wow. Wow.
and
Love
yeah.
that. No, we love to hear that. Definitely. God, it's just the technology in general is just extremely impressive. Not just the Rock Ultra
Mhm.
LiDAR, just LiDAR in general for like what we can do. It blows my mind every day that you can
Yeah,
like total
like,
time, like you said, 17 minutes to fly, but obviously there's some mission planning and some prep. But like, let's just say within a work day, you can accomplish so much and be able to put together these beautiful, stunning 3D maps. And it's just like, wow, it's in an, I'm not trying to say it's easy because there's so much technical stuff that you have to be aware of. And the training of being a UAV pilot is, and it's very important, all of that stuff. It's not easy, but LiDAR does make it a lot easier. And we love hearing those
mhm.
numbers, 17 minutes. So let's talk about the data a little bit, guys. We're all waiting. What stood out to you most about this point cloud and the data from this flight?
The density, because I did use the preferred settings that were provided on your website of like the rotation and the kilohertz. So I'm like the density was a bit on the, like, I don't know if it's as dense as our regular survey, but it caught quite a few points. Um, it's yeah, the range was the big thing that we wanted to make sure we maximized the range to make sure that we could get right down to the bottom of the pit from
Mhm.
from that elevation. So it's yeah, overall, I was very impressed with that. Like obviously when we turned it into a working mesh, like when we get it down to a workable mesh, we often decimate the data, like, and simplify the meshes in order to make it more easier to work with,
Yeah.
because sometimes really big files can be kind of difficult to extract what the information that you want out of them. But like overall, like it was very impressive, the data density that we were collecting at such a high rate of speed, and the size of the area. Because if we were just flying the Rock Pro in the same area from the same elevation, we would have not gotten as deep of a depth. Like, we might have been able to pick up the stockpiles, but it wouldn't have progressed past the base of that left stockpile area.
Gotcha. Yeah, and speak a little bit more to that and just what kind of ground detail and features we're seeing on this data set. This surface model here looks extremely detailed and crispy to my eyes here. And those stockpiles, how did that turn out? And do you specifically use the stockpile measurement tool in the Rock Cloud to be able to measure those piles? I've played around with it myself. It's super easy and fun, but just curious to know what other details and things you're seeing the stockpiles and etc.
So, if I may, Vince, to answer your
Yeah.
last question first, the things that stood out to me, the stockpiles is
Yeah.
one of them. And if we zoom in on that stockpile right in the middle there, like all of those funny looking bumps are
Mhm.
300-ton truckloads that have been dumped in place. So capturing the
Wow.
detail in that to such a degree that you can even, if you wanted, count the number of trucks that dumped in there. I'm pretty impressed with that. And then at the same time, capturing good quality, good density data right to the bottom of the pit from flying to the top, very, very much impresses me. When we look at, the steps in the wall and they're 50 feet between each step and being able to see, there's a crispness to the edges of those steps, right? And our benches show up nice and clearly. It blows my mind, right? Just the quality we've gotten out of it. Um, it's the detail that shows up in it is great for being able to see what's going on in the pit and compare it to previous surveys and be able to show that change.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it blows my mind too. It honestly is so extremely detailed. And
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that from the pros. So it's all good news. And typically we start asking questions about dense vegetation, but I don't believe there is any here on the mine.
Not in this flight. We did do a flight that did cover dense vegetation, and we were able to get a nice flat base out of it. Pick up not just the vegetation but beneath it. So we're thoroughly pleased with that.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's also really good to hear. Um, in regards to being able to get that vegetation penetration from the Rock Ultra, we have seen really great results from that. It's really stunning the capabilities of being able to. It's a 7 return system, so there is more lasers being shot down and shot back in order to capture all those details of the ground through that vegetation. Um, so great stuff. Anything else, guys, that you want to talk about here specifically on the data set?
So you mentioned earlier that we did do multiple pits. We did four
Yeah.
pits that are one adjacent to the other. The other thing that unfortunately you're not showing in this image is how well the surveys aligned, right? And how when we bring the
Mhm.
data in together, how nice and even it looks, and how it carries through from one flight to the next. There's not a lot of messing around to get things to match up from one to the next.
Yeah, love to hear that. Being able to align the data seamlessly, I would assume is just a breath of fresh air because I feel like that is something that could easily go wrong. Um, and being able to make that an easy process and get everything puzzle pieced together is just got a breath of fresh air. So speaking of a breath of fresh air, I'd like to introduce to the stage here our very own Rock Pro Services manager, Jamie Lackner, who leads the Rock Pro Services team. Jamie, before we get your opinion on this data set and your involvement and your insight, I'd like you just to introduce yourself a little bit and let's talk about the Rock Pro Services team. Who is the Rock Pro Services team? I know it's more than just you, and we'd like to acknowledge that and be able to kind of talk a little bit deeper to what Rock Pro Services is. So we'll take a brief intermission here and do our Rock Pro Services plug because it's a very important aspect of our business, and I want to make sure people do understand it. So welcome, Jamie.
Thank you so much for having me. First and foremost, Keith, Jeff, thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to take care of your data. I will admit this, I feel like breathtaking, jaw dropping were terms that came up a bunch And something that I have had the pleasure of doing while leading the pro services team is getting to look at data sets like this all the time. So I am the pro services manager. I lead a division. So any sort of CAD ready exports, contours, break lines, line work, you need it, we make it happen. We want to be an extension of your team. That's really our goal. Make it as seamless as possible from start to finish. So really all you have to do is click go and we return stuff to you in a completed format of your choosing. And I would admit this data set, especially with the speed you flew it at and with all of the inputs, it was A, quick to process, and B, it was a very clean data set. I very much enjoyed, like, I didn't have to finagle with this one. And I think part of that does come from it is an open pit mine. There isn't a lot of vegetation to contend with. Yeah, there was a couple of power lines that I had to be like, that's not ground, that is a power line. But for the most part, it, you know, the way you guys flew it, the mission planning you guys put into it really did come out with such a stunning model that I had to do very little manipulation with after the fact. So I will say that it was an efficient flight on the front end and on the processing end, which was a delight. Furthermore, this is just close to my heart. I studied geology in college, and so stuff like this is truly breathtaking for me to see, be able to capture this kind of depth. I remember when we first met, and you were like, "Yeah, we're gonna just fly it over the mine and see how far down we can go," and I was like, okay. And I think it is so miraculous. You were still flying 120 feet up, above your vantage point and still capturing so far below the vantage point at the bottom of the pit. I think the roadways and like the switchback of the road here, basically this was just to me so crisp and it came out so well. I was pretty taken aback by it in the best way possible. Um, so no, that's kind of my insights. I also would have had no idea about the stockpiles. I was like, oh, maybe it's a couple of tons. To hear that each one is over 300 tons a truckload, and you can count, they are so crisp, you can count them out, is to me something that I have not seen before. And I think it is really speaks to the volume and to the scale of this scan. Yes, it is 414 acres, but that doesn't count for up, down, and total point capacity at all. It just shows overall acreage.
Yeah, exactly. Very well said, Jamie. Hey, I also wanted to just give a shout out to Abin, who is another part of the Rock Pro Services team, because I know he works hard on all of these data sets too, and he doesn't get to come on camera and talk about it, but Abin and the team in the Rock Pro Services department, we have a large group of professionals working on these data sets here at Rock Robotic in order to make sure that your data is perfect as you need it to be.
Mhm.
From everything from the QC to the QA to the final deliverable. We have a team of experts working on that product to make sure that you get exactly what you need so that your clients are happy and that everyone is happy. Just wanted to leave that little footnote in there so people know, because we don't often talk about that side of the business with the Rock Pro Service Department. I think it's very important. So big shout out to Abin and his team as well. They're doing a really great job over there. So, Keith and Jeffrey, I'm going to ask you guys from field to finish, how did using the Ultra affect your workflow?
So the flights we did with the Ultra, we're using them for month-end processing, creating our month-end surface this month. Typically, it would have taken us 6 or 8 flights spread out over 3 days. Instead, Jeff captured it in 3 flights in a single day.
Mm.
So the efficiency gain from that is significant. The fact that it's fewer flights and we don't have to worry about alignment, it makes it that much easier to process it and get our end result.
In one day.
One day.
One day, guys. Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because usually we'd have to do each flight, process them, and then bring them in. So instead of processing like 6 flights, we process 3 flights, and then kind of some of our post-processing handling of the data in order to kind of get it to bring in into our other softwares and process it to get these results. I mean, it was definitely a time saving not to have to process multiple flights and then do our coordinate shifts and because we have a local mine grid that we have to coordinate them to, and then we have to merge. So having fewer flights means that we can just focus on single topography, like larger single topographies, which is really nice. So
Nice. Yeah, sounds really nice. Which part of the Ultra's workflow was the easiest or most enjoyable?
I think the most enjoyable
I'm
is it's got to be the size of an area that we can do in one go.
Mhm.
yeah, just the efficiency, just being out there and knowing that I can get more than one. Because if I wasn't scanning the bottom of the pit, I could actually have gotten more than more than just the 2 stockpiles. I could have gotten all my stockpiles in one long shape instead of. But I mean, we really wanted to test it on one of our deeper pits, and that's actually that's what we have up on screen right there is showing that we can collect stockpiles, but also if we want, we can gather this pit data, show change that's happened in the pit, maybe even use some of that data for geotechnical modeling or like that, which is possibly coming down the pipeline for us in the future.
Right.
Especially when we want to go back into these areas, understanding these things is very important.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. I'd be interested to know like what kind of changes you guys do see and how often you see it and what that. I know that's kind of would be nerding out on this stuff, but it is what like typically are the changes that you're seeing and how often like I'm just that's all perplexing to me, but if you could dive a little bit deeper into like what those changes are, how you guys see them and how they affect the work that you do.
Typically, in a month by month basis, we're seeing on the order of 10 million tons of mining. It's spread out with the pit getting wider and the pit getting deeper. So that shows up in a great big volume change within the pit. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of background noise.
Yeah, so am I. We can intermission real quick. Patrick, could you? What channel is that coming from?
It's probably me. Somebody's using a drill outside my office.
Of course they are.
Stick your head out there and tell them to stop.
Patrick, leave that in.
We're live.
We'll make the part of this the highlight reel for sure.
Yeah, just do a little beep over that, and we'll.
I'd like it to be very Batman-esque, the Adam West Batman.
Sure, we can pull that off. Afterward with the number sign and the at sign, the big comic bubble.
Need the spinny cutscene.
Oh yeah, we'll
exactly.
What has your overall experience been like working with ROCK Robotic as your LiDAR partner?
It's been fantastic. We only moved to using LiDAR instead of photogrammetry this year. ROCK Robotics was recommended to us by a partner who had done LiDAR survey for us in the past, and they've lived up to that recommendation. Everyone's been very easy to work with. The tools have been very easy to use, and we've had great support whenever we've had a need for support, a need for help. Partnership, I think we want to continue into the future.
We love to hear that, and we thank you guys for that partnership. It's extremely valued, and we also thank you for doing such a great use case for the ROCK Ultra demo tour. If you had to sum up your Ultra experience in one statement or phrase, what would it be?
One word?
And I'll let both of you answer. This question, guys.
One word would be wow.
Wow. Another Batman.
And I would say efficient, just because it makes a lot of our workflows very, very efficient to get larger areas. I mean, drone imagery or like drone surveys like this with LiDAR would typically be done with a fixed wing, and like from my experience. So seeing that that depth from a multicopter is very impressive.
Love it, guys. Wow and efficient. Two really good words to be associated with any kind of work-related project. So I'd like to thank you guys, Keith and Jeffrey. It's been a pleasure. The ROCK Ultra demo tour, same place, same time next week, everyone. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.